What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's review. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. So first thing is Walmart. Let's break it down because Walmart, if I'm not mistaken, it broke entry and it kind of rejected it pretty darn hard in the morning, or not in the morning, but oh yeah. Look, right at the beginning of the day, it looks like. Yep, 8:30, this thing broke entry and then immediately ran the other way. So this is one of those moments where, yeah, you would have been stopped out more than likely. This is why you want to have tight stop losses and not, um, just super large ones just because. If I was in Walmart this morning, and it just wasn't the one that I got into Amazon this morning when it broke, everything broke pretty much at the same time. So it was just a matter of what you were looking at the moment. If I had gotten into this one, I would have been stopped out for sure. But here's some things to look at that you can use for some confidence. So first thing that I always want to do is I want to always mark out the pre-market highs. And I'm not going to mark out the low in this case just because the high is the important part because we're in it for calls right now. If it had rebroken here, then what you would have been wanting to look at is the fact that we are above the upper band of the VWAP. We are above the VWAP itself. On other time frames, you do have a actionable signal right in here. You have a 2-1-2 reversal, 2 down, 1-2 up reversal, and this actionable signal is breaking through the price targets. Something that you could have used is the area right in here where it was the break this morning, right? You can see right here and right here where it's tapping that same spot. Staying above this might be like a good indicator to get in as well. Like, hey, as long as we, even on a lower time frame, are staying above the point where we couldn't get above earlier, then maybe I am okay with writing out calls to the PT, right? You get really close to it here before it starts fighting that pre-market high. And I'm looking at it on the 3-minute right now. But by looking at it on higher time frames, this is why I really like sticking with things like the 15-minute. You do have the breakthrough here. This happens. It gets so close to PT, and maybe you already would have sold a couple of your contracts, moved your stop loss into profit, or at least into break even. If you had sold near PT1 and moved your stop loss to break even, more than likely you would not have been stopped out here if you had gotten in on the initial break or even this break here. I do think that there's enough room here that you would have been able to stay into it. If you were somebody that's manually controlling your stop, then obviously you would want this low in the, make this a different color here. Ooh. You would want this low to be where your stop loss is. And I mean, it wicks it and then just bounces up above it. So if it was me and I was like getting ready to pull the trigger and sell my order, I would look how it bounced below it, then came back up above it. And then once it's back up above it, I'm saying, hold on. If you do end up going back below it, I'll close it, but maybe you're not anymore. And then sure enough, it didn't. And it kept going up, finally took out price target, and then started getting exhausted again. But what do you notice? After it hit PT1, what did it just go and retest? It just retested the pre-market high all over again. So you could have gotten more calls in here as well, or re-gotten some calls just based off of a pre-market retest, the same way that we've been talking about. And then that could have shot you up all the way to PT. Whoa, Jesus. How many did this thing take out? 1, 2, took out 2. So yeah, you could have taken that pre-market retest to capture the movement up here as well. So that's like some ways that you could be looking at Walmart in a more advanced capacity when you are trading that ticker, especially if you've gotten stopped out in the morning. You would want to be looking at maybe how to reposition it on the play when it does give you the opportunity. And those are the things that I would be looking at. Next is Airbnb. Now we're going to go into Airbnb here and check it out on just a simple low 5-minute time frame. And this thing just broke and hit PT1. Just think like that so fast this morning. Then it came back up, tested it again, and it came back down to PT1 again. And then wouldn't you know it, they went back up and tested entry again. And then it came back down and it ended up taking out PT2. Now that's the farthest that it went, was right down here in this area. It didn't end up breaking this again. And this would have just been one of those things where you just got to have fast trigger finger, you know? If spreads are good on something like this and it breaks entry and it's hitting PT1, you got to start scaling out. You got to start scaling out. And I'll show you what I did on Amazon today, because I actually played Amazon twice. But again, I'll get to that. You know what? I'll save it to the end because that's the one that I actually played. So I'll save that one to the last one. But you always want to sell at price targets, right? I don't care how fast it hit this. I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, it hit it so fast, it's going to keep going. Well, it might not, right? And that's why you want to execute and then move your stop loss up to at least break even, if not a couple points up above. That way you are still walking away with something. Good news here is that it was staying below the upper band of the VWAP, which is also coinciding with the entry break, which is really nice. Like rejecting off of the upper band, breaking through entry does indicate puts for sure. However, if you were not sticking with a higher time frame, you probably would have been chopped up in those first 15 minutes, just going from entry to PT1, entry to PT1, entry to PT1 over and over and over again. And I don't want you to get chopped up. So sell your contracts when it's time to sell your contracts. Buy more when it's time to buy more. So there was a bunch of things that hit, and I actually wrote them down. That way I don't forget to cover anything. Netflix is the next thing. Netflix, now this bad boy's a bummer. I'm not gonna lie, because this thing did not break until the very freaking end of the day. And let's be honest, when it's 10 minutes left in the day, I'm not gonna buy it, even if it gets signaled. You guys know that I built the signals to be automatic so that when it does break entry, it lets y'all know instantaneously. Unfortunately, there was just no reason for me to turn the signals off during the day. And then in the last few minutes of the day, it did hit. So because of that, I don't even expect anybody to have taken Netflix. However, if you did, I'm hoping that, you know, it goes the way that you want it to go in the morning, but at the same time, maybe be prepared to cut your contract if it gaps up in the morning or something like that, because it just broke entry and stopped at the last point of the day. So now there's going to be pre-market people and post-market people that have a bit more advantage than you do right now, right? Because if it had gotten all the way down here, well, then they'd have to make up for it, right? And pull it all the way back. But it just got right here at entry. So for me, when things are breaking their daily entry, the last 10 minutes of the day, I'm just simply not taking it. And hopefully that makes sense. Next thing that we will go into is AMD. AMD did break its entry. It did gap down on the weekly, and it did break it. But there are a couple things that you could have been looking at, which is the lower time frames. And when I say lower time frames, right, this is a weekly, so I am looking at things like the hour. I'm not going to go down to the 5 minute for a weekly play all the time, especially if I'm just trying to manage it, because I'll just get faked out on a 5 minute candle. I'm in a weekly play. Let's see what happens, right? So it does initially break. When that initial break does happen, you kind of get a little exhausted to the downside, ends up pushing back up. But this candle right here, oh my days, is screaming what direction it wants to go in. This is screaming what direction it wants to go in. You can see this humongous push to the upside, immediately fails when it crosses that high, and then dumps right back down, and then just does not have the force. Now, this does end up being a fake out. However, I wouldn't just have taken the regular 2 down, like the 2 down here. I wouldn't have taken that. I would have wanted it to re-break the weekly entry, right? I want it to re-break that level. I don't want to chase it by getting it early. I want it to re-break this level, and it didn't. In fact, when it did do it, it was after a 2-2 reversal on the hour time frame where it did break it, and then it kept going. However, we did not hit price target, but I will say that the distance from, you know, the low to entry is a couple bucks. 245. There's no reason at all that if anybody took this play, they should have been negative on it, because everybody should have been moving their their stops into profit along the way. And with a $2.45 movement, there's no way you didn't make some money on that. And if you did get stopped out, at least you still made some money on it, right? And if you're in the swings for it, then let's hope it goes where we want to go for that continued plan. Next thing that broke entry was signaled was F. Here we go. F, same thing here. This unfortunately did just like gap, and I wasn't able to cancel the alert in time because of the gap. I just simply wouldn't have taken it. I'm just one of those people that I like A+ setups and I don't like 50-50 chances. And sometimes when a gap happens, it becomes a 50-50 chance. I'm good on that. Before the market opened up, it was slightly above entry. Unfortunately, when the market opened up, it just came down a penny beneath entry. But that's enough for me to say, I'm good, right? I'm good. This is not going the way that I want it to go. Each trade for me is an investment, and I want to make sure that I'm making the wisest investment that I can. Things like gaps, even if they're a 1 cent gap, kind of turn me off, just going to be honest. So yeah, there is that. And then PFE, good golly, Miss Molly. This thing just broke and ran all freaking day. Now, remember, if I'm in a weekly play, I like to be looking at the smaller but higher time frames, hour, 4 hour, 2 hours, things like that. As you can see, this thing broke right in the morning when it opened up, and then it just shot all the way up 1, 2, 3 price targets, consolidated, and then kept going. And even this failed 2 in here should not have freaked you out, because let's name these candles. 2 up, 1, 2 up, 2 up, 2 up, 2 up, right? You see what I'm saying? Until a 2 down occurred, there was no reason to really get out of this play. And even though this is a red candle, it's not a 2 down. Don't be fooled by the color. Another good thing is that we are staying above the VWAP. We're staying above the top of it as well, even to the point here where we wick off of it and just shoot out catastrophically to the upside. And we keep staying above that upper band. So this would have been a really easy trade for anybody that got it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those mornings where everything broke at 8:30 and just kind of depends on what you were looking at, right? I only got a chance to play Amazon today. With that being said, let's go into Amazon. So Amazon, when it opened up, I was looking at a couple of different things. So as you can see, I had my pre-market high and pre-market low already marked out on it. When it broke entry, I actually didn't take it. I waited for it to also break the pre-market low. Once it broke this pre-market low, I got in. I got contracts, and I scaled out at PT1. I scaled out at PT2. I scaled out at PT3. And then during this one, my runners were stopped out. But guess what? As soon as I saw it come and wick this upper band right here, see this green upper band of the VWAP? As soon as I saw it wick that and start coming in, I took the chance and got more puts. I got into the play. Why? Because even though it didn't quite touch it, I am viewing this as a double confirmation of testing the pre-market low. It's so close. It's so close. We're talking pennies here, right? And sometimes algorithms kick in a little bit early. So that's what I'm seeing happening to the pre-market low. But I'm also seeing us stay beneath this VWAP. So I got into puts when we were underneath the VWAP, right here, this upper band, right underneath it. This thing came up and it was still a green candle and it was kind of wicking. And I said, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to get on this. Keep in mind, I'm already padded because I had already made money this morning from the first initial play where I just scaled out along the way. I bought a bunch of contracts, sold some of them at PT1, sold some of them at PT2, sold some of them at PT3. My runners got stopped out in profit. I was good. Now here, I know that my stop loss is going to be it going above the pre-market low, right? If it goes back up above the pre-market low, I'm cutting it. Simple as that. And we're talking pennies. We're talking pennies here. So my stop loss would have been extremely tight, but it didn't. They kept going. And then the beautiful thing is it closed beneath the middle, the actual VWAP, the blue band here. That's the actual VWAP. It closed beneath it, which screams to me the puts are going to keep going well, right? Yes, we get a little choppy in here, but I get double confirmation by it testing the upper band and rejecting it again. So remember, my stop loss is here. I got into it here. It retested here. When it retested, I'm just at break even. Pretty much there's no reason for me to get out of the play. And then it just, where I again scale out at price target, scale out at price target, scale out at price target, scaled out at price target. Whatever runners I had left got stopped out within this candle right in here. Now, as you can see, this is also, if you know me, I've talked about this, I don't know how many times. This combination is my favorite actionable signal. A 2-1-2-2 rev. The failed 2 is showing us what direction it wants to go. The 1 shows us that there was a fight in this area. Now we can see that whoever won this fight initially didn't have the strength to keep it up. We can see who really has the strength going on right now. So whenever there's a failed 2 after a 1, you are more than likely going to take out the low of the 1 and then the low of the previous 2 or 3 before it, right? Because this could be a 3-1-2-2 rev or a 2-1-2-2 rev, right? But the point is that this is my favorite actionable signal for a reason, because as you can see, consistently came down, took out PT1, and that's why these white lines are here, took out that next PT, and then it just went for the dailies. As soon as it took out that last price target that I gave for the day, it was done. It was done. Chop city after that. Chop freaking city. And there was no reason to stay in on the play. It took out the very last price target that I gave to the penny. And the very last price target that I gave was from all the way out here, right? In February 12th. I really knew that this is the range that it could have to go to. And it took it out to the penny. So when your plan happens, execute, right? Execute. So I was able to play it twice by doing exactly what I just showed. First time scaling out all the way to price target 3. The second time taking it from price target 1, essentially, and then scaling all the way out to the very last price target. So hopefully, this opens your eyes a little bit to what you could be doing live. And again, when you're in a play and it's just 2 down, 2 down, 2 down, 2 down, 2 down, even on the 5-minute chart and you're in puts, what are you selling all of your contracts for? But you definitely want to be scaling out, scale that at 10%, 20%, 40%, 50%, 60%. And then my one runner got stopped out, I think, at like 45%. Hopefully that all makes sense. Much love to everybody. I'm so proud to see y'all's wins. It really warms my heart when not only you share, but you show, because it just, I know how good it feels for you to see, and it makes me feel good to see it as well. So much love, everybody. I can't wait to see what we do tomorrow. I'm now going to delete all of these lines and make a new watch list for y'all. Much love, and I'll see y'all soon.